Hey everybody, Mark over here at Twanger's Turntable. I hope this finds you all well on this fine day, whatever day that may be that you're watching this. Back for another video. Last one I did was I did one with my grandson that some of you may or may not have seen. Check it out if you'd like. It's on my channel here. And then I did the vinyl tag 2024 by the Pretty Green Vinyl guy, I think it was. But today I'm back. I've never done one of those tags, and here we are. I'm doing the second one. I decided to jump on and do the heavy metal tag for 2025, and it was started by these guys over at Heavy Metallurgy. In fact, I didn't know it was those guys that started. I thought it was Metal Marty Mac, because that's the first one I saw. And I've since seen a couple. I saw Gustavo down in Brazil. He did his. Who else did I see? Oh, of course, I saw my buddy Brett down at the Headbanger's Closet. Shit, I know I'm probably forgetting a couple. I think I watched Kim over at This Is Music. Did I see his metal tag or just his regular? I think he did the metal tag. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to jump on this, and I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants here. I just grabbed some albums. Of course, I've got the list printed out and my answers on there, and I grabbed the albums that are associated with those answers. But yeah, not a hell of a lot of preparation aside from that. And I'm just going to start off by mentioning I like reading and doing reading about history, music as it relates to music, specifically metal. And my wheelhouse is probably the new album, the new wave of British heavy metal. And I picked up a book a while back by Martin Popoff. Some of you may have heard of it. It's a Headbanger's Guide to 900 New Wave of British Heavy Metal Records. And it's both a blessing and a curse. It's an amazing book. And it's basically a take on a book he had done previously on a lot of these early new wave of British heavy metal bands released. They were one and done. They released an album or even just singles, EPs and such. And you start going through this book like I have, and what naturally happens is I start hunting for the releases that are in here, and it's a hell of a rabbit hole to go down. But anyway, I digress. I just thought I'd mention that. Anybody that's into the new wave of British heavy metal, I would suggest this is a must read, but be careful. It similar to getting into the whole vinyl game, right? It's yeah, careful what you wish for. But anyway, let's get to it. So yeah, thanks to the guys for starting this. They're all familiar to me. I just don't view a hell of a lot of videos as much as I did previously. And now with all that away, yeah, let's get to it. So, cheers, everybody. Like I say, I hope you're all doing well. It's Sunday when I'm filming this. Whatever it is when you're viewing, I hope you're viewing. You're doing well. Cheers to you all. All right, so let's get to it. The Heavy Metal Tag 2025. Name a release you're eagerly anticipating in 2025. Some of my answers are going to be repetitive if you've seen some of the other channels, because I think Brett said the same thing at Headbanger's Closet. I've had this on pre-order since I think September, but it's the new one for the reissue of Testament, Practice What You Preach. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to go through these as quickly as possible. I'm not going to elaborate too much on many of them because that'll just take too damn long. And I have another video I'd like to get done here this weekend. Well, today, this is the last day of the weekend, because throughout the week it gets pretty damn busy. I don't have time. Number 2, show the 25th album, record or CD it's your choice, in your collection. So I went with the album, and it's the debut by Accept. That's the 25th one. Good rockin' band, good German band. I've always loved Accept. Probably the first one I would have heard would be Balls to the Wall, like many others in the community. But speaking of, I'll get to that later. But there's a few I would still like to get by Accept. I really dig their sound. I always have. So that's the 25th one in my collection. I didn't bother with the CDs I have there, or the cassettes. A lot of cassettes I didn't even go dig them out. There's one of them I should have went digging for, but I didn't bother. Number 3, overdue. Name an older band that you checked out for the first time in 2024 and loved. That's a tough one. In 2024 specifically, I don't know if there are any that I'm checking out for the first time that I may have heard from and I'm speaking just about metal, but there was one I came up with that I just didn't really give much credence to back in the day. 83, 84, they were very popular. I just never really liked them. I thought they were too Bon Jovi style, although I've always appreciated the guitar player from that band. But yeah, it's Dawkins. So I have a couple of their releases now, but tooth and nail. And yeah, George Lynch is an amazing guitarist in my opinion. So yeah, I do appreciate these guys much more now. I can sit down and listen to an album, whereas before, I don't know why, but they just sounded to me like Bon Jovi, and they're actually nothing like Bon Jovi. Maybe that's just the state of mind I was in with metal at the time. It wasn't heavy enough. Probably what it came down to. It just wasn't heavy enough. There was something about it that didn't click, didn't move the meter. But I do enjoy it now. Number 4, feeding the monkey. How do you purchase most of your music? Local store, Bandcamp, specific online site, etc. So for me, yeah, it's either locally. Now that I've gotten familiar with where I'm living now, I've gone to some of the shops here and pretty amazed at some of the selection. Unfortunately, the selections go much deeper than my hands will reach in my pocket. I just cannot, don't have the budget for the ones that I would like to get. But yeah, lots of good local shops. Amazon would be the second. I don't really do eBay. I've never purchased anything on eBay, and I've done rarely on Discogs even. And that's it. I don't subscribe to any of the other social medias like the what the hell are they? Well, Facebook. I don't do that. I know there's a marketplace there. What's the other one? Instagram and Twitter, all those. I don't know. I don't know. I don't pay attention. I don't subscribe. So yeah, it's local and Amazon. That's about it. Number 5. Show a heavy metal album that musically is really hard to place in a heavy metal subgenre. This one I had a bit of a hard time with it. Well, hard time might be the wrong description. I just wasn't sure. I mean, metal is it encapsulates so many types of music, genres. And I'm not big on all the subgenres. I find it hard pigeonholing certain bands and putting them in subgenres. Throughout my entire love for heavy metal, I just place things metal, whether it be thrash metal, whatever. Go back to the 80s, the new wave of British heavy metal, and then you got the where it just became a parody, in my opinion, with some of the pop metal and whatnot, for lack of a better term. So I don't know what the subgenre is. So I thought I'd go about this, approach it differently, if you will. And so I grabbed one. I thought over the years, like I say, metal has changed, and in fact, some metal, what we considered metal back in the 80s, may be arguably considered hard rock, maybe not even metal to some, but that's always been the case. I can remember some of my buddies and whatnot, you could make an argument that even Quiet Riot wasn't metal to us, when we were listening to Megadeth, Metallica and stuff like that. It seemed to be a little mild in comparison. But that's the age-old thing. That always happens. It happened with hard rock and bands like Zeppelin, whatever, back in the day. You could argue Motorhead and AC/DC and all those guys aren't metal, but I would argue there's very few metalheads that don't like them or appreciate them or have listened to them. But anyway, I digress. So I went back. I thought, what must it have been like back in 1970? There were bands certainly prior that had metal riffs, tendencies. If you think about 68 with Steppenwolf, right? Born to Be Wild, and heavy metal thunder. Before that, the Kinks was something like You Really Got Me, like and Cream, of course, Blue Cheer, bands like that. I mean, there were certain heavy tendencies, but the term metal didn't really exist as far as being a musical genre. But I would suggest most people would agree when this came out in 1970, the boys from Birmingham, everything about this is metal. I mean, just Yeah, I mean, what more needs to be said about this? So, trying to classify this back then, it's a metal album, but how would you classify it without that term even really existing? And I think it was an article in Cream that came out well after this describing Sir Lord Baltimore and their album Kingdom Come, where that term metal was used. I could be wrong on that, but that is just one example that I know for sure, just reading some of the literature I've read. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is one that comes to mind back then. So fast forward to 2020, and this is purely coincidental. I promise you, Brett, I did watch your video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out Brett's video. He showed Faith No More for this, and maybe it's something to do with Mike Patton and his style of vocals. But I went with this, Mr. Bungle. I mean, to me, it's clearly metal. I mean, you got Dave Lombardo from Slayer on drums, who is phenomenal in my opinion. You've got Scott Ian from Anthrax, and so this, and essentially, if you've not heard this, Mr. Bungle, this is basically a re-recording of their early 1986 demos, and it's a fantastic metal album. The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo. So there's the inner sleeves of that. But Mr. Bungle, I would suggest it's a bit of a departure, although they were kind of always obscure in what they did. They did whatever the hell they wanted. But this is really, this is metal for sure. So as far as a subcategory, the subgenre, I wouldn't even know how to do that. So I figured that's what I would go with for number 6 or number 5, the Enigma, because I really don't know anything. There's I guess there's others that I could have gone with. This was just honestly one of the first things that came to mind, and maybe it is that whole Mike Patton thing. Even with Faith No More, to me they are certainly metal, but you think about some of the material they did, and you could debate whether it was metal and how do you put that in a subgenre. Anyway, that's what I went with. So we'll go on to number 6. I gotta run off, just 1 second. Eating Crow. Talk about an album you used to hate, but after years, it finally clicks, and now you can't get enough of it. There's another one. It's like, there is no album I didn't give the time of day of before, and now I can't get enough of it. I've got lots of albums. My tastes have not changed really much over the years. I've expanded to what I will listen to, but nothing that I didn't dislike before, or nothing that I disliked before, has turned into something that I can't get enough of now. I can't think of anything under those terms, but I'm going to go with one that Brett showed as well, and I freaking hated this album. Priest Turbo. When I first heard this, I mean, after what Priest had been known for, and then to hear this, such heavy synths on here and stuff, it was just, for me at the time, it was kind of heartbreaking. I mean, I love Priest, right? And to hear this, it was just, this is awful. This is awful. I could not, I wouldn't listen to it. And you know what? It's funny because this came out, it was the 30th anniversary. So when did Turbo come out? 86? Must have been around 86, right? So this would have been 2016. Yeah. But I don't mind it now. There's still some songs on it that are, like Turbo Lover. I don't like that at all. But it is tolerable now compared to what it used to be. But yeah, this would definitely be the one. I can listen to it now, whereas back then I had no love for it at all. And it's still probably one of my least favorite as far as Priest goes. Number 7, Impulse. Show an album that you blind bought in 2024. So yeah, mentioning some of the local stores I've had a chance to run into, I came across this one, and just the album cover alone. And this is a different cover than many of the other releases around the world. And they're out of Germany. This particular release, I think, was where was this one from? I don't know, but it's a band called Bullet Execution. So yeah, the albums that I've seen have a completely different artwork. This is from 1981, 1982, and produced by, many of you be familiar with Dieter Dierks. Worked with Scorpions, worked with Accept well, you know, other German bands, among many others. But yeah, very kind of in that same realm of Accept, AC/DC, Rose Tattoo, Crocus, that type of vocal style. Very reminiscent. I mean, almost like, yeah, there was only so much room for bands like this. They only put out 2 albums. I think they put out another one in '83, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. It's hard to find any info on them. But yeah, another good one. That was just by the cover. I saw the cover and I thought, yeah, that'd definitely be something I'd be into. And I do like it. It's really good. Number 8, where we are. Collector Scum. Show a title that you own more than one pressing of on the same format. It's funny because I was just watching Keith's video last night. He's a pretty new channel. I would recommend go and check him out. Back in the Groove. He had shown 50, 60 albums that he had at least multiple copies of, 2 or 3 or more. But I don't have that many, to be honest with you. When I spread it across a couple of formats, and I didn't dig out the cassette for this, but I do have multiple copies on compact disc and vinyl, and I do have multiple copies of many vinyl, just because you know how it is. You find one, then you find another that maybe is in better condition, maybe the jacket's better or the media is better, and so you Frankenstein them or something. So I do have a few of those, but I just went with this one of my favorites. Love Drive, Scorpions. So I've got the vinyl. I've got, this came with the 50th anniversary of Scorpions, that series they did. So it's just kind of a, what do you call these, a digipack, right? It's just in the cardboard sleeve. Then I have my compact disc from years ago, and I do have the cassette, but I didn't pull that out. So that's just one. I've got a whole ton of Megadeth. I've got a lot of double Megadeth. The reissue, I've got Risk, and then the reissue of Risk. United Abomination, I've got 2 of those. Countdown to Extinction, we'll get to this again later. Amazing album. And then, yeah, I guess that's it as far as what I've got doubles of on CD. I've got lots of doubles of Metallica and AC/DC and stuff. Anthrax, I've got a couple. But yeah, you get the idea. Sabbath, got lots of doubles of those. Number 9, show off a grail, something you really wanted that you acquired in 2024. Both of these I would consider probably grails, although that's not a term I use all that much. But I guess as far as how it's defined in the vinyl community, these would be considered grails for me, because I had both of them on cassette many years ago. One of them I've had on compact disc for many years. But the other I could not find anywhere for a reasonable price. Let me make that clear. There's lots of them in the wild that if you want to pay the bucks for, but I don't have the wherewithal to do that. And one of them I've showed already, and it's the EP, the Made in Japan EP. This is the North American edition with the 5 songs on it, the extra being Rothschild. But yeah, Running Free, Remember Tomorrow, flip it over to Rothschild, Killers, Innocent Exile. Amazing album. So happy to finally have that on vinyl. And then another one, I'm just going to show this one because this had been something I talked about quite often about wanting to find, and I did find one in really good condition, although it's another one similar to the Rock-A-Rolla Priest that really it's in dire need of a remix. It's the way I've always remembered hearing it, but when I compare it to some of the other stuff, it definitely needs the remix treatment. Come on, Tony. I've heard you talk about it in some of your videos. Let's get it done. But yeah, Born Again. I actually love this album. This is one of my favorite Sabbath albums. The only one with Gillan on it, of course, from Deep Purple. But I love that. That's just a killer album. I've always loved that album. So happy to finally get that on vinyl. Number 10, a plea to the VCLT gods. What is a grail item you are on the hunt for? Like I say, grails aren't, I don't know. I mean, I have stuff on my list, and if I come across it at a decent price, yeah, I'll consider it. But one that always comes to mind, I was talking about Megadeth and the original, Killing Is My Business. I mean, Dave went in and remixed that and put new cover art on it. I don't know what year that was. It had to be in the 90s, I presume. But I love that one. I love the original artwork, as cheesy as some people may think it is. The original Rattlehead, I don't know, and I'd love to find that. I've seen a few of them in the vinyl community, people showing them off. But I love the whole package. It's a great album. It's one of my favorite Megadeth albums. But it's just my introduction, right? So, and then that artwork, classic artwork, I love it. So, number 11, a Boomerang album, showing an album that no matter how many times you purge it from your collection, another copy returns to you. Let me just back up. I just thought of another one, and I do have it right there on cassette, but it's that tribute album to Black Sabbath, Nativity in Black, the first one. I'd love to have that on vinyl. I've seen a few of those in the vinyl community as well, and that gets the juices, the jealous juices flowing. I'd love to have that on vinyl. I love that. It's a great tribute album. Every song on there is a banger, and the way the bands did them is just such a homage to Sabbath that I love it. Anyway, Boomerang album, show an album that no matter how many times you purge it from your collection, another copy returns to you. I don't have any, none. Anything I own, I typically don't get rid of, and if I get rid of it, it doesn't come back. It's just, that's it. I know. Number 12, reunion. Name an artist that you had lost track of over time, but reconnected with in 2024. So not 2024. I can't think of any in 2024. But one I didn't have any vinyl of, and I only had, there's a few. Back in the day, I've said this multiple times, but for the benefit of those who haven't viewed my channel or haven't heard it, I had very little money growing up and not very much music of my own, and what I did have was shared to me on these blank cassettes you may see in the background there, next to on the shelf. It's an SA90 TDK blank tape. Most of my music were on those, or even I would get creative, and old cassettes I found or that were no good, and they were like old 50s and 60s stuff I didn't like. I would tape over the top of the cassette, you know what I mean, so you could record over it, and buddies of mine would record music on those and share them with me. One of those was Trouble. So the 1984 debut from Trouble, which is now, I mean, it was just called Trouble back then, I believe, but now I picked it up last year, and it's got Psalm 9 on there. But just amazing band. I've always loved these. I mean, Eric Wagner was an incredible vocalist who sadly passed away in 2021. But now I've got about 5 of their albums. Still working on getting the entire catalog, because, yeah, love those guys. Kind of lost track of them, to be honest with you. I mean, there's so many bands you can all relate that you probably heard on compilations or a buddy's house or whatever. Don't recall 40 years later what that band was, and then you hear it or see it in the VC, and it's like, huh. And I've got one such album coming up here in one of the later questions. But Trouble, I never really lost track of them, so to speak. They'd always been there. I saw them in the VC with my buddy Aaron and a few others showing them, and listening to them on the live streams with Patrick over his live stream. But yeah, that was definitely one I'm glad to have. Love Trouble. 13, Upstart. Name a band whose debut album really impressed you. The debut didn't have to come out in 2024, but recently. So I don't have this yet. I haven't pulled the trigger on it. I've looked it up on Bandcamp, but my buddy, I can't show a physical copy. I should have pulled it up on here. My buddy Brett showed them over at his channel, Headbanger's Closet. It's a band called Disarray. So yeah, Disarray, Religious Disease came out in 2024, and I think they had one prior to that. That's one of the only ones I could come up with. 14, Influencer. Show a band or release that you bought in 2024 as a direct result of watching someone's YouTube channel. Well, that could apply to this one soon, but I went with this one. I just mentioned bands that I'd heard many years ago, and didn't realize it was this band until I saw it on Steve, the Harmless Rebel. He's often on that Patrick stream as well. But Hollow Ground, Warlord, Glenn Coates, the vocalist on here, went on to sing with Fist, the UK Fist, not the Canadian Fist, for those who are keeping score. But yeah, incredible, awesome. So originally, I think they'd only released like 4 or 5 songs, and then 2 more. They had a split LP. Yeah, here we go. So the first 4 tunes was from the 7-inch, and then track 5 and 6 was from a compilation called Rock Snacks, and then 7, 8, and 9 were demos from 1981 that were never released. But finally, this was put together by Phoenix Records. It's a numbered release. This one is 263 out of 350. I'll just hold that up. Maybe there's not too much of a glare. And I think the original was, no, I don't think. I shouldn't say that. I saw copies of the original on Discogs, and it was a white cover with the artwork just being black, like pen almost, similar to the Diamond Head, Lightning to Nations type of artwork, and a few others. 15, don't judge a book by its cover. Show a great album with bad artwork. There's quite a few of these. I mean, the first one that came to mind, I don't have it on any format. And it's funny enough, because I could have put that with the Turbo album. Although I do like it a lot more now than I do like Turbo. But it's Ozzy's Ultimate Sin. I remember when that came out after Bark at the Moon with Jakey Lee. You know, I really dug that album. It was really good. I've got both the US and the UK copies up there. But the artwork was god awful. I still don't like the artwork. I mean, I'd like to have the record, but I don't like the artwork. It's just stupid. Anyway, this is my opinion. That's all this is. But the other one I went with was Riot. I've got a few other albums, but yeah, I mean, aside from the samurai, or the sumo wrestler samurai / seal, you know, it's not a bad album cover, but pretty. Yeah, I honestly think that was one of the things that held them back from more mainstream success. I mean, artwork does sell covers, right? And that's not something I would necessarily associate with heavy metal back in '82 or, you know, whatever. It's just, but it's a banger. I love all of the Riot stuff, especially the early one. I mean, this has got Guy Speranza on vocals, you know. But yeah, love that one. That's a good one. Don't judge it by its cover, because it is a good album. Rembrandt, this is number 16. Show an album whose cover art was created by one of your favorite artists. I could have gone with the low-hanging fruit, of course, Maiden and whatnot, but I didn't. One of them is David Fairbrother Rowe, and it's from Hair of the Dog, Nazareth. I was memorized with this, and I got into, maybe one of the reasons I enjoyed art so much and got into art so much was due to this. I wish I had a gatefold, but this is not. But it does open up, or it would open up if it were a gatefold. And it's an incredible piece of art. The other one I could have gone with was Joe Patagno, Motorhead, right? All the Snaggletooth War Pig. Many of you would be familiar with that. So there's just a couple of mentions. I always love that artwork as well. I mean, it's iconic. I mean, there aren't many that get that iconic. You know, you think of Vic Rattlehead, you think of Eddie. I mean, you know, there aren't that many that are associated with a band right away as soon as you see it. But Snaggletooth War Pig is one of those. And this maybe not associated with the band, or arguably it is. People see this, you could take that away, and just the artwork, you'd know that was, well, I guess that's subjective of your age, but certainly one I grew up with. I love it. That's my Rembrandt. I'd like to have that as wall art, to be honest with you. Number 17, name an album that you would like to see reissued on vinyl or CD, your preference. So yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, like we were talking about Megadeth, that Countdown to Extinction, one of my favorites. And I think there's lots of bootlegs out there, and there's copies that if you have the coin, you can certainly source it in a while. But I'd just like to see a reissue. State of Euphoria, Anthrax, that's probably my favorite. Or Spreading the Disease. I think Anthrax should reissue all of theirs, as should Megadeth, in my opinion. So I've got a few of them, but Tool, I love Tool. But 10,000 Days, I'd love to get that on vinyl and not be a bootleg. But even the bootlegs are expensive. Number 18, name an album from a genre that you typically do not listen to very much. And I just went with this one, The Northern Pikes. I seen my buddy Brian over at Embryonic Robot show this. It's on that blue vinyl. It's translucent. It's a nice looking vinyl. You know, I like that colored vinyl. My buddy Brett would like that. Maybe not the contents, but the vinyl. Yeah, that's one that came to mind. There's many. Was the lead vocalist for Skids? Oh damn, can't remember the name of the band. Was it Big Country? Not normally a genre I listen to, although I don't even know if I can say that anymore. I mean, other genres that I just don't listen to, I don't have anything to show you. So, number 19, what band do you hope to see live in 2025? So that would have to be Maiden, Metallica. If I could really have my grail of bands I'd like to see, it would be Sabbath, Tool, you know, that type of thing. There's so many. I don't go to shows much anymore. So I don't know. I mean, number 20, in closing, tell your viewers about 2 new, to me, YouTube channels you discovered in 2024, or just showed out 2 channels. So I've only got one here that I discovered in 2024. Maybe I'll say 2. Spirit of Vinyl, Craig. He started up in 2024, I think only about 6 to 9 months ago. He's in the U.S. And he shows a lot of good metal. He's, you know, seen him show pretty much the whole catalog, I think, of Megadeth. Yeah, so yeah, and I think his son is really into the speed metal and stuff as well. I don't know, but yeah, that's one. He shows some good stuff. And then, like I mentioned, the first metal tag I saw was Metal Marty Mac. And I've seen some of his videos through the years. I just, there's so many channels. It's so vast out there. I forget about some of these. And if they don't come up in my algorithm, I forget and don't see them. But that's another one. My 2 official channels that I enjoy, Spirit of Vinyl, Metal Marty Mac. There you go. So that's it. That's the 2025 heavy metal tag. But that's it. That's all I got for you. Really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed what I had to show. And if you did, leave a comment. Let me know. And we'll see you on the next one I do, whenever that will be. But until then, take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, weekend, whatever. And cheers, everyone. See ya.